Welcome to this episode of Eureka. We are with us a very interesting person for today's conversation, Dr. Kiran Kumar, Chairman ISRO. We'll take a small look at his background.
Dr. A S Kiran Kumar is a highly accomplished space scientist, an engineer with a distinguished career spanning over 4 decades in Indian Space Research Organization. Dr. Kumar was instrumental in evolving the successful strategy for steering the Mars Orbiter Spacecraft towards Mars as well as the Mars Orbit Insertion. He has also made significant contributions towards evolving the observation strategy encompassing land, ocean, atmospheric and planetary studies. Dr. Kiran Kumar is a recipient of many national and international laurels, including the Padma Shri in 2014. Under his able guidance, President Pranab Mukherjee presented ISRO with Gandhi Peace Prize in 2014.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for being with us in this show, and I'm sure the audience are going to be really educated and excited by this conversation that we are going to have for next 30 minutes. Right from the time of inception, ISRO has been doing very well. But this Mars Orbiter mission actually made the world look at ISRO much more closely. And if you look at the recent past, the launch of the reusable vehicle, where you send a rocket and then you don't let it out, but then bring it back and then try to reuse it. This experiment has also made people to say that here India is entering into kind of India's own space shuttle. I mean, that may be a slightly exaggeration, but then world has been looking at it. Can you just tell us something about this reusable vehicle? Why do you want to do it? What's it?
See, what happens is, as you said, ISRO has all along been looking at space technology as a tool for bringing in the benefits of space technology for the society. That's how it started its work right from the beginning. Yeah. It looked at which are the specific problems which can be addressed by the space technology. So when you look at it today, we have been able to provide, we have about 35 satellites operating in space, providing us communication, navigation, and also Earth observation, helping us tracking cyclones, providing fishermen with information on where to go for fishing, crop information, like that host of information which we can generate from objects in space, contributing to the Indian development in various aspects. Now, one of the things is, as the time progresses, we need to make sure that cost of access to space, that means one of the key things which determines the total effectiveness of your ability to make use of the space technology. Today, for making Earth observation, tomorrow it could be even observations of space, then including space station and beyond other activities what are needed, and also in future energy from space if you want to do. All of this you will be able to do if you have a system or a launch vehicle system which is providing you an ability to put kilograms at a lower cost, lower price.
That is, reduce the cost of access putting a payload in the space.
Into space. Today we talk of between $15,000 to $25,000 per
$15,000 to $25,000 per kilogram.
That is the kind of numbers that is there. At this kind of cost, it will not be very easy to sustain them for future, making it more effective. So that is one of the reasons. So we have to find a way of reducing the cost of access to space. See, though a lot of comparison is made with space shuttle and all that, it's an unfair comparison for the simple reason, when space shuttle came into picture, their objective was not to look at cost. Their objective was first to make things happen. At that time, you have to build a space station, take man into space, put things into. So that time it is no longer actually worrying about how much it costs.
Reusable vehicle, how does it bring down the cost?
See, for example, if you take a plane, suppose you are told that every time a plane carries from one end to another end, it becomes unusable.
So what you mean to say is that I take a plane from here, land in New York, but then no longer I can use the plane. So then you have to,
So same way here, what we are trying to do is you have an object, satellite, you are taking to space and then leaving it in space. So your task is to put the satellite into space. Now the vehicle which carried it now is getting consumed. That means everything that has gone into that has now become only one-time usage. Whereas when you make it reusable, the idea is From ground it goes, leaves the satellite in space, it comes back to Earth, and then only consumables like the propellants, chemical propellants, etc., that you have to refill and then take it.
But if you look at the weight of a launch vehicle, something like maybe the payload will be only about 0.4% or something like
Yeah,
that.
it will be like that only.
Yeah, around 80%, 85% would be the fuel.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
what is the point in bringing the system?
Yeah, because still the system cost is more than the fuel cost.
Okay.
So the system cost keeps the, actually if you can reuse it, it's like your whatever item you are taking, you can amortize by using it multiple number of times.
Okay.
So if you are able to use it 10 times, 20 times the launch vehicle, then the cost what you have spent on that launch vehicle comes down by that much percentage.
Okay.
So today the chemicals used in the propellant itself, that cost is, though it is significant, but not very high.
Okay.
So the main cost is going in the vehicle, whether the with different stages, the engines that you are building, the navigation system. So all this put together.
So the idea is to bring it
back, and so there the number of stages also is expected to be reduced. And in this particular exercise, what we did is, it's our first step towards making it happen.
Okay.
So now since the item has to come back, it's coming back like a plane.
Okay.
So it's a winged body.
Winged body.
So winged body, again, this is the first time in the India, we have completely indigenously designed a winged body which can withstand Mach number up to 4.8, 4.9.
4.9 meaning, I mean, 5 times
Five
the speed
of sound.
Yes.
So that's a Mach number when you call. So at that speed, it has been able to bring back, and then a closed loop guidance system which enables this vehicle to come and land at the place. This time we did a virtual landing on water.
Okay.
We had no intention of recovering this, but we planned the whole thing and then brought it on land, on ocean. And in this experiment, you had a wing body and a lot of design, almost 4,000 wind tunnel tests. Wind tunnel test, as you are aware, is a test where a scaled down model is put inside a test chamber, and where you create conditions similar to different Mach numbers and the kind of forces that act on that, temperatures, pressures, strains, all that is simulated. So you have been able to establish a design process of designing a wing body which can withstand these regimes.
Okay.
And then on its return, when it enters the atmosphere, you also have the, because of the friction, high temperatures encountered. So you have to build tiles which can actually prevent lot of heat from one side going to the other side. So ultimately, inside the body, whatever objects are there, they can survive the re-entry conditions. So, and then we also made use of navigation system which is totally indigenously done here. So it was a very good experiment, the first experiment where a wing body designed to meet these conditions have got validated.
Extreme conditions have been validated.
And also certain new type of sensors, what is called a flush air data system, which actually makes the measurement of the air speeds, Mach number, the angle of attack, and many of these parameters. This again, for the first time in the country, even in the aeronautics industry, they are looking forward to these results of this, and we have extremely successful results. About 27 of these probes put together, they act as a flush air data system, and this is fitted in a carbon-carbon nose cone. And so all these...
We need to maybe take a small break here.
Yeah.
We are having a very interesting conversation. We'll continue this conversation. Don't go away. We'll have a short break. Welcome back after the break. We have with us Dr. Kiran Kumar, Chairman ISRO, and we are having a very wonderful and interesting conversation about the reusable launch vehicle. Let me move on to another, let's say, feather in the cap that ISRO is going to soon have it, which is launching 22 satellites at one go. And it's not just only launching 22 satellites at one go. I mean, this mission is also aiming them to launch them at different orbits. So, which means that the engine has to be switched on, switched off, again switched on.
Yeah.
It's a very tricky affair.
Yeah.
Can you tell us something about it? I mean, we are all very excited about this.
Yeah, see what happens in any given launch is when you have a single satellite, where your objective is to take that object up to a particular height in space, give it a direction and a velocity, so that depending on what velocity you give, it gets into a circular orbit or an elliptical orbit, etc. But many times what happens is now as the requirement keep growing, you need to put satellites in different orbits, maybe different altitudes or different orientations, etc. So in this case, the last fourth stage, which is carrying the satellite, if it is able to release one satellite and then restart and go to a different velocity regime and different location, then it has got a higher capability. So you can service different customers demanding different altitudes.
So if somebody wants a 400 kilometer, you can give them
do
a 400
that,
kilometer. Somebody wants
600, 800. So all of them you can carry in the same launch and do. Otherwise, sometimes what had to be done is you have to compromise between the requirements of two of them and ask one of them to
reduce
use their fuel
okay.
for readjusting whatever is required, etc. So this is one where what you can call restarting capability of the fourth stage engine gives us that advantage. So in this we are going to do two restarts. That means after the first switch off, one restart and then again second restart. One restart we have already attempted in a previous.
So we have experience of doing one restart.
Now this time we will be doing one more. That is one. Second thing is when you have a number of satellites which have to be released, one of the things you have to make sure is once you release these satellites, whatever velocity you are imparting relative to your own object is such that they do not come back and hit each other. So they don't collide.
When you release, they should not go back and hit each other in
so these kinds of dynamics you have to do simulation and depending on the size of the object and the kind of velocities that you give, all that has to be done. So it's a mission analysis which has to be done. And in this, once you release one satellite, center of gravity of the system changes. So because of that, again it goes to another set of computation. So you have to make sure that all these things are analyzed and then taken into account. And this time actually you mentioned 22. While the target was 22, two of the satellites from one of the customers last minute they had to drop out because certain tests which they were doing, they did not succeed in that. So they have to, we will be giving an opportunity in a later launch. So this time it's going to become 20 satellites.
20 satellites at
instead of 22.
I mean,
Even then we have our own prime satellite, a Cartosat 2 series satellite. Then two of our Indian university satellites, Satyabama and Pune University. Then a number of mini satellites, nano satellites and micro satellites. That's what we are doing.
I think this time we are going to launch about 13 satellites of US and Germany, Indonesia,
Canada.
So it's not just one country but
it's
multiple countries.
See, so far we have done about 21 countries. For different 21 countries we have launched the satellites. 57 is our last number. With this it will become 57 plus another 17.
Continuing this discussion on launch vehicle, we have right now PSLV, then GSLV. Then there is also a plan for GSLV Mark III. So can you tell us about this Mark III and why do we need this?
See, for example, today with our indigenous cryo engines on GSLV Mark II, we have established that we can do around 2.2 to 2.5 ton capacity satellites.
2.5 ton capacity satellite at
geostationary transfer orbit, what we call geostationary transfer orbit. That means apogee will be around 36,000, perigee will be around 200. That's what you can do. But we need up to 4 tons when we started our Mark III program. Gradually that is increasing to higher capacity. But GSLV Mark III can give us up to 4 ton when we fully reach its limit. So now the key things that were required was we have a solid S200 motors and then L110 core and then the cryogenic engine. So what we did in December 2014 is a short of cryogenic engine, rest of the thing we have done and tested. So now engine itself, cryo engine itself, it's again a different variety than our Mark II. This also we have gone through a series of tests where full duration on 2 engines we have demonstrated already. So now the stage is getting ready. We are working towards launching this GSLV Mark III this December.
This December, most likely we should be seeing the next generation of our launch vehicle, Mark III being launched.
Mark III vehicle. So now the apart from cryo engine stage, rest of the thing we have already done once. Based on that, whatever knowledge we gained, we did make certain modification in the solid motor, etc.
So which means that if we have this new Mark III launch vehicle, we will be able to put good communication satellite in geostationary orbit.
And then this also we are now looking at ways and means how the same capacity can be used for putting more efficient satellites into orbit.
Okay.
Like electric propulsion, for example. We are looking at how instead of using entirely chemical propulsion,
Okay.
if we also use electric propulsion, whether we can improve the efficiency of the satellite.
Instead of 4 tons, maybe
It
6
becomes
tons.
equivalent of 6 ton, but
Okay.
physically it's a 4-ton
4-ton,
satellite. What today a 6-ton satellite can deliver in terms of transponder, in terms of capacity, communication capacity, that much we can build in a 4-ton satellite and still achieve the same life, same performance, etc. So this is another area we have started working. So we have this electric propulsion system also will be tried out in our next GSLV Mark III, which we are planning exactly 1 year later. So we have 2 Mark III missions planned, one this December, one next December.
One next December. In the next December, we are going to do a next step in the experiment of electric propulsion
electric
system.
propulsion, that's on the satellite, not on the launch vehicle.
Interesting. So we are now looking at the future.
Yeah.
So perhaps we need to take a small break and then we'll come back. It's very exciting, very interesting. Don't go away. Take a short break. Welcome back to this episode of Eureka. We are having a very interesting conversation with the Chairman ISRO, Dr. Kiran Kumar. We are told you are planning something called Aditya to study the sun. Can you tell us something about it, sir?
Yeah, it's very interesting because when you want to do interplanetary travel, you need to get into propulsion systems which are very different. Like electric propulsion is one where the advantage is sunlight is converted is used as the energy, and then by expelling the ions you are able to impart velocity. Similarly, there is what's called solar sail itself. That means using the sun radiation effect itself to propel the thing.
Like a wind sail uses
a wind sail, like solar sail type
solar
of
sail.
thing.
Yeah.
So, and coming back to the Aditya is a very interesting mission because here you are putting a satellite in what is called a Lagrange point.
Lagrange point.
Lagrange point. Now, the advantage of this is relative to the sun, this position of the satellite will be almost stationary. The Earth, sun and this object, they will be in a sort of a constellation. Relative to each other, they are almost fixed. So because
which
of
that,
you can continuously look at sun.
Continuously look at sun.
So it's like you can say when the gravities become equalizes, gravitational forces of these two bodies, then you get a position which you can sustain with very minimum perturbations or minimum energy.
So which means this is the point where the sun is pulling one side, the earth is pulling one side, but then the pull is equal. So kind
almost
of the
it becomes
constant. Yeah, good. Okay,
that's
a Lagrange point.
That's a Lagrange point type of thing. So then,
how far is it from Earth?
So this one, what we are going to put is 1.5 million kilometers.
1.5 million kilometers.
Yeah. Of course, compared to Mars, of course, it is very small because Mars you have gone up to 400 million kilometers. But notwithstanding that, the advantage of this is, see, you would have seen many times the scientists trying to go for a place where total solar eclipse is visible. The occurrence of total solar eclipse. Within that small time of few minutes, they are trying to set up experiments and then to look at just outside the sun's radii up to 1.5, 3 radii, etc.
Basically the corona and portions which are not visible on a daily basis.
Yeah, those kinds of things they are trying to look at. What this opportunity provides is, since the satellite is looking at sun continuously, you have got what is called a coronagraph. You block the main sun, then the observer looks at outside the sun only. So you are able to do a continuous observation of that, and it gives you a tremendous opportunity to carry out some detailed information collection about magnetic activities and the mass ejection. So this is Aditya is an instrument which is being built now for making observation of sun continuously.
When do we expect it to launch?
This is around 2018 and 19 time frame.
18-19 we should be
time frame
launching.
Is what we are
That's
looking
a kind
at.
of time frame.
But in terms of technical capability of putting it into orbit itself, you can calibrate yourself because you have done a 250 million, 400 million distance things. So this is, and moon is about 4 lakh kilometers. So that way, and in fact, this also much of the confidence on this grew after the Mars mission. So we are configuring and going ahead on this. We are also looking at in future a possibility of having both in L1 and L5 simultaneously having satellites for making certain observation, which will also help us in providing information about certain solar flares in advance to the Earth, and then
So the space weather can be
space weather
monitored.
information can be monitored on that. So another thing that we are trying to look at in all this is encouraging our academic institutions to build the instruments.
So
even
which
in
means ISRO's this effort would also be a kind of a contribution to the academic community in India and academic institution in India. So they will be able to also kind of participate in a kind of a internationally
renowned experiment. See, today, for example, AstroSat, which was launched last September, is an excellent example of that, where Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, Indian Institute of Inter-University Center for Astronomy and Astrophysics, Indian Institute of Astrophysics, Bangalore, Raman Institute, ISC, like that, a number of physical research laboratory, a number of institutions, all the payloads are built there.
So the instruments are built by that academic
institution. Those institutions. And these are not small things. For example, whatever large area X-ray experiment, what is LAX-PC, what is built at TIFR is a very huge instrument. And it's an X-ray telescope which has got almost about 19 to 20 layers of conical sections with thin gold layers. It's a technological marvel type of thing.
See, one question our audience is going to certainly have is, when are we going to send an Indian to space?
Yeah, see, in terms of this particular human in space, first thing is we have to build a capability for launching man into space. That means what we call human-rated vehicles. So we are now just getting into the process of 4-ton class, and beyond 4-ton we are also working on semi-cryo engines, and then heavier lift capability. So one is you should be able to have a heavy lift capability. Second one is the rating of these vehicles also you have to build it in such a way, because man is in the loop. You have to. So today we are doing what are called certain critical technology developments. When we did our crew module in December 2014, it's actually a module which could have carried 2 persons, and that came back, and then all the tiles, everything. So that's also in our museum that way. Now we are the space suit we have already developed through a company in Baroda. Then today we are working on a capsule which can actually house 3 astronauts, and then going through the process of environment control there, toxicity, how to control them, how to control the oxygen level, carbon dioxide, and then making sure that the environment inside that is worthy of living beings. So this is another technology on which work is going on. Then we also have what are called pad abort tests. At the time of launch, in case you get contingency, how will you deal with that? Later this year, we will be doing some experiments toward that. So we are conducting what you can call as certain technology development activity towards this.
Steps for that is being
done.
But we need to cross a mile before we can actually.
But finally, the country also has to take a decision that today is, do we have the right priorities? Can we move beyond what we are doing and get into this area also? Or we still need to keep higher priority on the way we are doing today, societal and technology, bringing space technology for societal benefits. So this is a choice the country has to make.
But coming to this point of bringing space technology to society's benefit, one of the major contribution in the recent past, a kind of a new contribution is Gagan. Can you tell something about that?
Not only Gagan and IRNSS, our regional navigation satellite. Gagan is actually a capability where, using about 26 ground stations around the country, we keep monitoring the GPS satellites, and then through our 2 Gagan 3 transponders on satellite which is there, we are beaming signals to ground, telling the receiver, whichever is actually doing the computation of position, at that instant, which are the satellite data it can rely upon, and what are the errors it has to compensate, so that you get a positional accuracy better than a couple of meters. So this is the one.
So a positional accuracy of about
a few meters, better than 2 meters, and that you can rely on that at that instant of time.
At that instant.
Because today, if you take any GPS on ground, you cannot rely. You are not certain whether the number what you are getting at that instant you can rely. So there is what is called safety of life and integrity. So DGCA, the Civil Aviation Director General, has now certified in India usage of Gagan. So this is a very tedious process. It has gone through years of testing and all that. So all those aircraft which carry these Gagan-enabled receivers can make use of it for en route planning and APV-1 landing process. The one more level is there, which is much more higher precision. That for that work is going on.
So which means in a few years, any flyer in India will have invisible hand of ISRO
Yeah.
guiding their safety.
Yeah. Even today, for example, the recent civil aviation policy also has announced 2019 January onwards, all aircrafts registered in India should carry Gagan-enabled receivers for their planning activities. Apart from Gagan, very recently we completed our own regional navigation satellite system, constellation of 7 satellites, which will give us independently position determining capability what a GPS gives.
Okay, very interesting. Lastly, I want to ask you one question, which is again, many people ask me, whenever I go to many colleges and schools and give lectures, one of the questions that many teachers or students, even parents ask is, ISRO is a government agency. Usually we know that government agency is lethargic, does not meet target. How do you do it? How do you do this magic?
Probably the roots of this, we should say, goes back to the way the organization got itself formed. See, when initially the space technology was being looked at by the developed countries as a tool for demonstrating their technical prowess, we had Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, who was looking at how a new technology can be brought to the benefit of common man. So that was the prime objective.
So
ours is
keeping the common man and common person in the center.
in the science. Whatever work you are doing, if you are able to see the fruits of that work is reaching your fellow beings, they are able to make use of it, you actually ignore many of the difficulties, many of the issues, and you are more than prepared to commit yourself for delivering. And then the way this new technology has been brought to use in the country, globally India is recognized as the country which has made maximum use of space technology for societal development.
Thank you. We had a very interesting conversation, meandering many areas, looking at the futuristic launch vehicles, looking at space missions which are in the anvil, and also the important role ISRO plays in bringing space technologies for society's development. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you.
We had a very exciting and interesting conversation. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much.